The New Year celebration comes right in the middle of the 12 days of Christmas. And while I'm not one to make resolutions, this year I am making my offerings to God. I decided to list my offerings of what I hope to give to God in the coming year. Give God my heart, my trust, my belief that all things are possible. As I test out my Christmas skates, I realize that our life of faith is like learning how to ice skate. At first, we are unsure, and we might falter and even fall. But if we keep persisting in trusting God, in turning our eyes towards heaven, in knowing that there are arms, everlasting arms to lean into, a hand to grab hold of, that all then will be well, that we then will skate through life. The Scottish poet Robert Burns, who gave us the famous Auld Lang Syne in the 18th century, well, he said it best when he wrote about a hand from a trusty friend reaching out to help us. And in return, we will give our hand, and then we'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. This is a time of year to reflect on the past in order to begin stepping into the future with eyes wide open, to learn from the mistakes we might have made so that we go into a new year doing better. As I mentioned to you, I'm not one into New Year's resolutions, but this year I am making a list of offerings to God. And I invite you to do the same. What is it that you could give to God this new year? Write it down, and then place it somewhere safe, and turn to it throughout the days of this new year. There's a tradition in the Swiss village that my father grew up in that on New Year's Eve you would start a bonfire to chase away the evil spirits. Well, I'm trying to create a little fire here at Old Stonewall Farm, but I fear the wood is still a little too damp. But I got a nice flame going, and just enough to burn the list of all the things that I do not want to take with me into the new year. Yes, in addition to my offerings to God, I wrote a list of everything that I want to leave behind. I want to leave behind fear, feeling anxious. I want to leave behind my doubts that hold me down. So, my friends, as we prepare to walk into a new year, I want to share with you a prayer that Thomas Merton wrote many years ago. My Lord God, I have no idea where I'm going. I do not see the road ahead of me. I cannot know for certain where it will end, nor do I really know myself. And the fact that I think I'm following your will does not mean that I'm actually doing so. Therefore, I will trust you always. Though I may seem to be lost, I will not fear, for you are ever with me, and you will never leave me. Well, welcome, my friends, to Old Stonewall Farm, where we are still in the season of Christmas. The full 12 days of Christmas are indeed celebrated here, and this is one of my colonial toys I got in my stocking called Cup and Ball. It became popular in the 16th century and it continued on to the early American colonies, and it was a game for both children and adults. And it's more difficult than it might look. I thought it was going to be easy to get this ball into the cup, but it's not. For many years, I always thought the end of Christmas was on January 1st, when New Year's Eve came rolling around, and then January 1st, New Year's Day. I always got a little sad because the holidays were over. But that is not the case. The official ending of the Christmas season is January 6th, when we celebrate Epiphany, when the wise men come with their gifts to the baby Jesus. And earlier on, many, many centuries ago, the official end to Christmas used to be February 2nd, with a holiday called Candlemas, in which you take your candles and get them blessed at the church, and the light of Christ that came into the world is being recognized by all. But for many today, January 1st is the official end of Christmas. And even earlier, as there are so many trees now I see already discarded. I like to embrace these 12 days of Christmas. And I've come to realize something this year, that our New Year's Eve celebration isn't the end, but it comes right in the middle of the Christmas season. Now, if you were at the farm last year, I told you that the original New Year's Eve was in March. It had to do something with the calendars. And then eventually everyone got onto the same calendar, and thus New Year's Day became January 1st. But we're not going to celebrate New Year's in March. And with the New Year being part of Christmas week, I began to ask myself this question that I want to share with you. What would Christmas say to the new year? What would the Christ child want to say to you as you begin a new year? Rather than making January 1st the end of the Christmas season, why don't we decide to think about it differently and really bring the Christ child into our New Year's celebration by asking ourselves, okay, this gift has been given to us. How do we carry it with us each and every day? So as I already shared with you, I tried out my new Christmas present, the ice skates, and that was an adventure. I had not been on skates in many, many years, and as I was about to get onto the ice, and now I'm filming this for all of you, I had this fear. And I thought, I can't do this. I just can't do it. And I really thought that this was a bad idea. I never felt such fear like that. I used to be on the ice all the time. I was so happy that there was a mother with her 2 teenage daughters also ice skating that morning, because I did not want to be there by myself in case I fell. I shared with the mother that I haven't been on the ice in years, and I shared with her how I used to go ice skating all the time with my dad. And then she said something really powerful to me. And she said, well, just take a deep breath, close your eyes, and take yourself back to that time when you were skating with your dad. Think about how he helped you. Just think about holding on to his hand. And that was so warm and comforting. And I did do that. And so hesitantly, I took to the ice and I finally got my skater legs back. But as I was ice skating, I kept thinking about what she said about, well, just think back to the time when your father was carrying you, when your father was helping you. And that goes beyond my earthly father. So as we enter into the new year, if you find yourself in a fearful place, if you find yourself in a place where you feel like you can't do something, or you're going to fall, remember the time when our Father in heaven was holding on to our hands, carrying us, lifting us, supporting us. Remember all the times in your life that God caught you when you were about to fall. It was an adventure ice skating, and just getting onto the ice was a powerful faith lesson. I once watched a funny video about all the different types of skaters and how they get onto the ice. And the first one was the hockey player. And you see the person just kind of just barreling onto the ice with brute force. And then the second person was the speed skater. And so they just jumped right on the ice and they were like just taking off very fast. The next type of skater was the figure skater, who got onto the ice with great grace and confidence. And then there was the skater, who is the wall clinger. So if you're at a rink and you have the wall all around the ice rink and the person gets onto the ice and they're clutching the wall because they are so afraid of falling. And then there is the skater who gets onto the ice, is scared to death, doesn't clutch the wall, but is trying very hard to stay up. And you can see that they really want to master ice skating, but they're not quite sure if they want to go for it. While I found that video funny, as I was skating, I kept thinking, what kind of skater do I want to be this year? Do I want to be the hockey player attacking life with brute force? Do I want to be the speed skater, experiencing life at such a fast pace that I don't see anything else around me? Will I be the figure skater? Will I approach life with great grace and confidence? Or will I be the wall clinger? Will I cling to the wall, so afraid of taking that next step, so afraid of falling and not quite sure if I can do it, that I just don't get anywhere? Or will I be that one person who doesn't want to really cling to the wall, but is still scared and find myself just trying so hard to stand up in life? What kind of skater do you want to be? But more importantly, as we begin a new year, where is your faith? Where is your trust? Can you have a great big belief in God who makes all things new? I was never one for big parties on New Year's Eve. I prefer to greet the new day as the sun is rising and go for a quiet walk in the woods. And many times when the calendar presents a fresh new page, the scripture I have in my heart is from Revelation. John is on the Greek island of Patmos, and he is writing down his visions that God is giving him. And in Revelation 21, we have the vision of a new heaven and a new earth. And John says, the former ones have passed away. Behold, God is making all things new. Now, the Greek words for former, it doesn't mean that the former earth and the former heaven is done with, it's over, and it's going to be replaced with something just brand new. Rather, the word that is used here indicates it's still the same being, but only better. And that gives me comfort for when God is working in my life, wanting to make me a new creation. That means that he can work with what is already here. God can work with what is presented to him, all of my faults, all of my fears, all of my doubts, all of my shortcomings. God can work with them and make something better, something new. That God will just say, okay, this is a total renovation. We just have to demolish everything. But no, God can make something out of what is already here, because God is in the redemption business. So when a new year begins, I hold on to that truth and that beauty that God sees potential where I don't see potential, that God sees the promises where I don't see the promises, that God sees the hope where I don't see the hope. Growing up in New Jersey, there was this magical place called Land of Make-Believe, and we would go there every summer, and it was like an amusement park. didn't really have rides, but it had all of the fairy tales coming to life. And so you can run through the Three Little Pigs house. You could slide down the old lady's shoe. It was such a wonderful place. I'm not sure if it's still in business anymore, but I always loved going to the land of make-believe. When John is writing in the book of Revelation, he is asking us to enter into a land of belief, not make-believe, but enter into the land of belief, finally believing that God can do all things, finally believing that hope is yours, that redemption is yours, finally believing that there is good in the world, that there still is peace, that there are still angels helping one another. I think many times our hopes and dreams are kind of put away into the category of make-believe, fairy tales. They'll never come true. But when you lift your eyes above all of the mess and all the problems, you will see that there's a land of belief, belief in God. That belief can carry you through any trial, any challenge that might be waiting for you in the coming year. I look forward to stepping into the new year with you and for us to journey together, to pray for one another, to encourage one another, and keep reminding each other that all is indeed well. And so, my friends, thank you for being part of Old Stonewall Farm. You have touched my heart and really blessed my days. And I look forward to the days to come. Thanks be to God. I really wish you were here to help me master this. I have yet to get the ball into the cup. It's going to be a very long New Year's Eve.